Boom, rocks in the room. And today we're going to be talking about all things lawsuits, things that used to cause lawsuits, things that currently cause lawsuits, and things that are going to cause lawsuits in the upcoming future. But what can you still do in today's day and age when it's still land of the free, home of the brave, on real estate news for real people and hot tips for the hot IA? In jumping into real estate news for real people today, I'm going to juxtapose a couple stories that have been prevalent here lately. In Oregon, just so you know, next year, if you're a seller of real property in Oregon, you will no longer be allowed to receive a letter from the buyer, a what they call love letter, or a, you know, dear homeowner, we love your home letter, or, here, I really appreciate you allow me to see your house. In Oregon, you're not going to be able to do that. So as things go in Oregon, maybe they're going to go that way here. But I want you to know that today in real estate news for real people, you can still write a seller a letter. And I am a big fan of doing that, of integrating the relationship. Engaging relationship is what a broker is by definition, somebody who introduces two parties. So when you have done your job, AKA whoever is brokering your deal, and if you are brokering the deal and you've met the buyer, it's one thing to expect, but as a home buyer, I want to leverage some of this information that you have to your benefit today. Okay. It's tough enough to buy a house as a home buyer in this market, especially. It's now the end of July 2021, and things are a freak show for being a buyer in the real estate market. But what you can do to actually weigh the scales more in your favor is write a letter. Be honest with the seller. Tell them who you are, what you do, what your family is like, and what you see, feel, believe, want their property for. Okay. Write them a letter while it's still legal. Okay. Because I'm a big fan of and again, not an email, not a text. Folks, do me a favor. Grab one of these. I know it's a little old fashioned. Maybe that's just me, a little old fashioned kind of guy, and then even just a post-it note, right? But write something to the person that's from your heart, from your mind, something legitimate, authentic, honest, vulnerable. Oh, just be real people and write them a letter and sign it. Signatures. I'm a big fan of those too. But while it's still legal, you can still write a letter to the home seller. And that will actually, it does. Real estate is a very emotive process, folks. Okay. I don't care how much of the Vulcan that you actually have in your character, how logical and ethical and morally pure that you are in your dealings, it's still going to be emotive. So do what you can to actually engage this seller with a heartfelt letter, because just so you know, folks, in Oregon next year, that won't be legal. That's kind of got me really in a bit of a bit bent. Okay. So that's real estate news for real people today. Write a letter. Okay. And it's really good. Big fan of doing that in all your relationships, and leave a legacy of something that says, I thought about you. I cared about you. I really appreciate you. And doggone it, I like you and I love you. And that's real estate news for real people today. And I'm going to do hot tips for the hot IA number 97 of 101. Okay, we're almost there, folks. We're almost to the end. And who the heck am I but Rock, Florida? I have been disrupting the real estate industry for decades and have learned a lot of practices, principles, policies, universal language of business, marketing, and negotiations that I want you to leverage to your benefit. And everything you need to succeed in selling a house is in the link below. Come and get it. I want everybody to have this information. Everything you need. It's a full, complete checklist of Marketing and Paperwork 101 and my book, 101 Tips to Sell Your House Without Agents, in the links below. Come and get it. It's free for you. All right. Hot tip number 97 of 101 today is about the money, honey. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the major lawsuits, most litigious item in real estate contracts, at least in Arkansas State and many other states around the country until the past few years, was called earnest money. So ask your attorney or ask an agent that you actually regard highly about asking for a down payment from the buyer. Okay, a down payment to more morally subjugate them to the purchase and the conclusion and fulfillment of their due diligence in the process. Okay, ask for a down payment. Okay, and now these can come in two different forms. And the one that was most litigious in this state, anyway, was earnest money. Now, I need you to know that earnest money, unless the seller incurs cost that were facilitated by request of the buyer, earnest money will almost always be remanded back to the buyer in the event of a termination of that contract. Don't, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, think that earnest money is going to be yours just because. And it's held in escrow or in the by the title company until the closing as a down payment towards the property, usually ranging anywhere between $1,000 to 10% of the actual purchase price. But earnest money, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, will not likely ever be yours until the closing. Now, then, that was a lawsuit. People didn't understand that. They would say, hey, give me my earnest money after they terminated, and then they would file a lawsuit and it would be refuted all the way up to the high courts. Now, here's what is in place of that. Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner of the information age who is actually educated knows these things. Okay. A down payment that you expect to keep and secure that buyer by actual legal consideration called cabbage, right? Benjamin's real money is called a deposit. And that deposit is a fee that is paid to the seller directly, and that is, comes from the purchasing price and proceeds. But if you're a seller and you expect to keep the buyer as much on the hook as possible, get a non-refundable deposit. There's a difference, folks. So, here to educate and teach and empower you to greater profits and less stress in your real estate processes. Hot tip number 97 of 101. Again, if this has added value to your life or opened to your eyes to something maybe you haven't considered before, like it, okay? Or don't. And do comment, ask more questions, folks, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. There's a lot of good stuff there. And I really do pray blessings on you and your house, and make it a great day. All right. Bye-bye.